Have you ever felt like the world is pushing you around, pulling your emotions this way and that, like a leaf caught in the wind? One moment you're calm, the next you're drowning in anxiety, frustration, or shame. And sometimes, it's not even about what happens. It's the way your mind spins it, the way your heart swells or breaks over things you can't control. There was once a man who knew that feeling deeply. He ruled an empire while battling illness, betrayal, and the constant threat of war. But his true battle, the one he fought each day, was not on the battlefield. It was inside himself. Against fear. Against pride. Against despair. Against the part of the human soul that so easily becomes a slave to circumstance. He wrote, "Be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved, and the raging of the sea falls still around it." That is the Stoic ideal, to remain unmoved by the noise of life, not because you're cold or detached, but because you're anchored in something deeper than circumstance. The first principle is this: your mind is sovereign. You may lose your health, your possessions, even the people you love. But your mind is your own. If you can hold on to your reason, if you can choose your response, no one can truly harm you. The world can shake your body, but only you can shake your soul. That's not poetry. That's power. Second, nothing that happens to you is entirely up to you. But how you interpret it, that's yours. Your perception is the lens through which the world gains its meaning. You can look at hardship and see punishment, or you can see a test, a training ground. When something difficult enters your life, don't just ask, "Why me?" Ask instead, "What virtue is being asked of me here?" Patience? Courage? Acceptance? Third, remember how small you are, and be liberated by it. When you step back and see the vastness of time, the rise and fall of empires, the countless generations before you, you see perspective. Everything fades. Glory, pain, status, reputation, they're all dust in the wind. That doesn't make life meaningless. It makes it manageable. When you stop needing everything to last forever, you can finally begin to live fully in this moment. Fourth, your character is your fate. Not what people say about you, not what luck brings your way, but who you choose to be, again and again. Will you speak the truth when it's inconvenient? Will you show kindness when it's not returned? Will you keep your dignity even when others lose theirs? A Stoic does not seek fame. He seeks to die knowing he has lived as a good man. Fifth, live in agreement with nature, not just trees and sky, but the nature of reality. Life is change. People leave. Bodies age. Plans collapse. That's not personal. That's nature. A fruit ripens and falls from the tree. A wave rises and crashes. So do we. Don't cling. Don't curse. Flow. Sixth, control your desires, or they will control you. The Stoics didn't deny pleasure. But they warned, when you become addicted to comfort, to approval, to pleasure, you become vulnerable. You create a gap between what you want and what life gives. And in that gap, suffering is born. Practice needing less. Practice wanting less. You'll be surprised how free you feel when you stop expecting the world to serve your preferences. Seventh, train your soul like a warrior trains his body. Strength isn't built in comfort, it's built in resistance. Every setback, every insult, every delay is an opportunity to strengthen your mind. You have power over your mind, not outside events. That strength isn't about stoic silence. It's about clarity. About remaining firm in your principles even when it would be easier to break. Eighth, let go of the need for applause. Most people chase approval like it's oxygen. But that's a trap. What value is praise from someone who doesn't even know themselves? Would you let a stranger dictate your sense of worth? Then why let the crowd? Instead, do the right thing, not for recognition, but because it's right. Ninth, death is not to be feared. It is natural. It is certain. And it is the great reminder of what truly matters. When you remember how brief this life is, you stop wasting time on pettiness, on ego, on resentment. You focus on what's essential. You stop postponing peace. And the 10th principle, act now. Don't wait for the perfect time to become who you want to be. Don't wait until life calms down, until people understand you, until fear disappears. The present moment is all we ever have. So if you want to live with strength, wisdom, and peace, start now. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to live your values for you. You must decide. You must act. You already have everything you need. The flame is already inside you. All that remains is to let it burn. But what does it actually look like, to live by these principles, day by day, when the world doesn't stop testing you? It looks like this: you wake up, and before reaching for your phone, you reach into your mind. You remind yourself, I might be insulted today. I might lose money. Someone I love might disappoint me. The weather might be cruel. Life will happen, as it always does, messy, chaotic, indifferent. But I will meet it with calm. Because I've already chosen who I want to be. A Stoic doesn't rely on luck. He trains for the inevitable. He knows that every day is a rehearsal for the final test, how to meet fate with integrity. There is no guarantee of a tomorrow. So today is enough. This breath, this moment, it's all you have, and it's already sacred. Imagine someone cutting you off in traffic, shouting at you with eyes full of fury. The old you might react with the same fire, insult for insult, rage for rage. But the Stoic in you pauses. Breathes. Observes. You don't control that other person. You don't even control the outcome of the encounter. But you control yourself. You ask, what would a wise man do? What would a free man do? Maybe you let it go. Maybe you respond with stillness. That's not weakness. That's power. We are taught to think strength is domination. But the Stoics knew better. Real strength is self-mastery. Real strength is keeping your inner temple clean even when the world throws mud at the walls. You don't need to shout. You don't need to prove anything. You already are what you choose to be. Now imagine facing grief. Not a bad day, but real, gut-wrenching loss. Maybe it's the death of someone dear. Maybe it's the collapse of a dream you built your life around. A Stoic doesn't pretend not to feel. He doesn't numb the pain. But he refuses to be broken by it. He lets himself mourn, fully, honestly, but never forgets that pain is not the enemy. The enemy is losing yourself inside it. You might say, that sounds impossible. How can I be strong like that when I feel so weak? But strength doesn't come before the moment. It comes in the moment. It's not something you build in theory, it's forged in fire. In the rawness of life. When you're tired but you speak with patience. When you're afraid but act with courage. When your heart is broken but your mind remains clear. That is Stoicism in motion. That is the soul at work. And the beauty is this: you don't need perfect circumstances to practice it. In fact, it's the imperfect ones that help you the most. When people gossip about you, that's a chance to practice indifference to reputation. When plans fall apart, that's a chance to practice adaptability. When you're stuck in traffic, or waiting in a long line, or dealing with someone careless, that's a training ground for patience. The world is constantly offering you a curriculum in virtue, if only you're willing to see it. The Stoics believed the goal of life wasn't pleasure, success, or even happiness as we usually define it. The goal was to become excellent. To live with arete, the full flourishing of human nature. And that meant facing life with clarity, courage, justice, and discipline, over and over, no matter the reward. Because if your peace depends on things going your way, you'll always be a hostage. But if your peace comes from within, if it flows from how you choose to see, to respond, to act, then no one can take it from you. You become, not a stone in the wind, but the stillness beneath the storm. This doesn't mean you stop caring. On the contrary, Stoicism makes you care better. When you let go of needing others to behave a certain way, you love them more honestly. When you stop chasing praise, you work more sincerely. When you stop fearing pain, you live more boldly. Think about it: if today were your last day alive, would you spend it worried about what someone said on social media? Would you argue about a parking spot? Would you waste time replaying past conversations where you should have said this or should have done that? No. You'd want to be present. To be kind. To be true. You'd want to meet life with open eyes, and death with an open heart. That's what Stoicism invites you to do, not just once in a while, but every single day. Not perfectly, but earnestly. Because the goal is not to become some unfeeling statue. The goal is to become fully human, but disciplined, awake, and in control of the only thing you ever truly own, your soul. Every day, the world will test your alignment. Will you be the rock, or the wave? Will you act from fear, or from reason? Will you be shaken by noise, or rooted in silence? You already know the answer. You just have to live it. There's something deeply liberating in realizing that you don't need to control the world, you only need to govern yourself. And that yourself isn't your mood, or your impulses, or the thousand thoughts that flood your head every day. It's your reason. Your will. Your choice. That's what Stoicism gives you, the power of conscious choice. You can be surrounded by chaos and still have peace. You can be wounded and still have dignity. You can be unsure of tomorrow and still be faithful to your principles today. But here's the hard part, no one is going to remind you of this when you need it most. There won't be a signal. No bell will ring. Life will just hit you, sharp and sudden. And in that moment, you either remember the path, or you don't. That's why practice matters. Stoicism is not just a set of ideas, it's a discipline. Like a musician practices scales or a soldier trains his reflexes, you train your mind every day. You rehearse clarity. You rehearse restraint. You rehearse courage, not in speeches, but in silent moments when it's easier to fall back into habit. You feel anger rising. You pause. You breathe. You ask, what is in my control? What is right? What would a wise man do? And then you do it, not perfectly, but sincerely. That's the Stoic path. It's not glamorous. It's not easy. And it won't get you applause. But it will build something unshakable inside you. And when the storm comes, and it will, you'll be ready. You'll still feel fear. But you won't be ruled by it. You'll still feel sadness. But you won't drown in it. You'll still face loss. But you won't lose yourself. Because you've already practiced. You've already made the most important decision of all, to live by principle, not impulse. This is what makes you truly free. Not freedom to do whatever you want, but freedom from needing everything to go your way. Freedom from being a puppet of your emotions. Freedom from being at the mercy of other people's praise or rejection. And once you taste that freedom, even for a moment, you'll know, nothing else compares. So start small. When someone cuts you off, don't react, observe. When your plans fall apart, don't complain, adapt. When you're misunderstood, don't explain endlessly, hold your peace. Not because you're weak. But because you've remembered, your peace is not for sale. Your soul is not a commodity. You're not here to win arguments. You're here to live with clarity and grace. And the truth is, people will not always understand your stillness. They may think you're cold. Or arrogant. Or disconnected. But that's okay. Let them think. You're not here to please. You're here to live. To live in alignment with something higher than opinion. To follow a deeper rhythm than applause. And over time, you'll begin to see the difference. You'll see it in the way you speak, slower, more grounded. You'll see it in the way you handle failure, not as a collapse, but as a chance to grow. You'll see it in the way you carry yourself, not stiff, but firm. Like someone who walks through life with their eyes open. Because you know storms will come. And you know you'll face them with calm. That doesn't mean you won't cry. Or bleed. Or struggle. It means you'll never forget who you are in the middle of it. And you'll never hand that identity over to chance. You are not your job. Not your success. Not your mistakes. Not your followers or likes or achievements. You are the one who chooses how to face each day. You are the one who decides what is worthy of your energy. You are the one who holds the line, quietly, faithfully, no matter what the world does. That is Stoicism. Not detachment. But presence. Not suppression. But mastery. Not escape. But endurance, the noblest kind. So the next time you're tempted to lose yourself, to lash out, to fall into despair, to seek pity or control, pause. Go inward. Find the stillness you've been building. And remember, no one can take from you what you refuse to surrender. Your dignity. Your reason. Your flame. Let that be the thing the world sees when it looks at you, not your reactions, not your defenses, but the deep, unshakable clarity of someone who has remembered what truly matters. And who, even in the face of everything, refuses to forget it. Let me ask you something. What kind of person do you want to be when everything falls apart? Not on the good days. Not when things go your way. But when the news is bad. When people leave. When your body aches. When the world stops making sense. Because that moment will come. It comes for all of us. And when it does, no philosophy will save you, unless you've made it a part of who you are. That's why the Stoics practiced every single day. Not to impress anyone. Not to sound wise. But to prepare. To become. To embody a kind of strength that doesn't break under pressure. They reminded themselves of death, not to be morbid, but to live more fully. They stripped away illusions, not to be cynical, but to see clearly. They trained in discomfort, not to suffer, but to stop fearing suffering. And in doing so, they became free. That's the paradox: the less you need, the more you have. The less you cling to, the stronger you become. And the more you let go, the more life gives back, in unexpected ways. Because when you stop trying to control everything outside you, you reclaim control over the only thing that ever mattered, yourself. And once you do that, life begins to change. Not because life itself changes, but because your position within it does. You stop being a passenger, dragged along by circumstance. You become the captain. Yes, storms will still come. But you'll know how to hold the wheel. Yes, people will still disappoint you. But you'll choose not to betray yourself in response. Yes, fear will still whisper. But you'll walk forward anyway. Because you've made a decision, that your peace is not conditional. That your integrity is not negotiable. That your life is too brief, too sacred, to be lived in reaction. And once you know that, deeply, not just in your mind but in your bones, something changes. You stop chasing the wrong things. You stop performing for the crowd. You stop delaying the person you were meant to become. And you start. Right here. Right now. With a breath. With a choice. With a small act of courage that says, I will not be shaken. Not by the world. Not by pain. Not by doubt. That's what Stoicism looks like. It's the calm voice that says, let it come, I am ready. It's the still mind that says, let it pass, I will remain. It's the steady hand that builds, that heals, that gives, even in a world that sometimes takes. And it's not just for philosophers, or emperors, or people in ancient books. It's for you. For the one listening now, wondering if this strength lives inside you too. It does. You don't need to become someone else. You don't need to wait for life to be perfect. You just need to remember what you've always known, deep down. That you were born with the ability to endure. To choose. To rise. And if you forget, start again. Every day. Every hour, if needed. That's the beauty of it. No one can take away your second chance, as long as you're willing to begin. So begin. Live deliberately. Speak with purpose. Walk with dignity. And when life tests you, as it always will, meet it with the fire you've been cultivating all along. The fire of stillness. The fire of discipline. The fire of a soul that refuses to be ruled by anything but truth. You don't need 10 lifetimes to master this. You just need one moment of honesty. One moment of clarity where you look in the mirror and say, I am done being ruled by fear. I am done living on autopilot. I am done giving the world permission to decide who I am. From this moment on, I live by principle. From this moment on, I answer only to the highest within me. From this moment on, I am my own, whole, aware, and unshakable. And no matter what happens after that, you'll know, you lived like a Stoic. Not in name. Not in theory. But in truth.